I think the story behind the title of Shoegaze is one of the greatest backstories for a genre ever. When bands like My Bloody Valentine performed on stage, they would have to look to see what guitar pedals they were pressing because they were so complicated. Their live shows were quite interesting, because people would go to the show just to watch the band stare at their feet for an hour.
I mean, apart from being quite shy and quite awkward, we just had these pedal boards, so we would spend a lot of time looking down because you're kind of tap dancing your way through the set a little bit, and that label then stuck. I prefer to think of it as progressive guitar music.
I had trouble beginning this video, not only because figuring out how to make a video talking about a genre of music that hasn't been relevant since the 90s is really hard to do, but also because of how much attachment I have to the genre. I've been a fan of shoegaze for quite some time now, so when making this video, I wanted to do it right. But how could I do justice to a whole ass genre of music in a YouTube video? So I've tried my best, but even if you don't like the video, I hope you decide to listen to some of the music I'm recommending. Because I really do hope you at least respect my opinion enough to listen, because I'm sure you'll enjoy it. I'll start by giving you a background on what shoegaze is. The decade is 1980. AC/DC have just made a name for themselves for being absolutely god-awful, and people thought wearing socks like these made them look cool. It isn't certain which band did it first, but at some point, shoegaze was created. Suddenly, newspapers all across the UK were writing articles on the newly named genre, commenting on walls of sound and screeching guitars. And that's pretty much what shoegaze was. Bands would just make huge, reverb-ridden walls of sound that would give their music an almost out-of-world feeling that the UK scene had never seen up until that point. One word to describe how it sounds is drowned. All the instruments and even the vocals are drowned in effects to create that classic sound. It's the effects they use that allow them to create sounds like this. Unfortunately, the genre was a bit ahead of its time. By the time shoegaze was being refined and perfected, Britain had moved on.
As soon as Nirvana started to break and everybody decided to kind of, grow their hair and turn over from Seattle, that combined with the start of Britpop, and it's very much like shoegaze was a term that nobody wanted to admit they liked.
But that's okay. Like most things, due to places like MU and the internet, shoegaze has made a comeback. Gone are the days where Britain needed the grunge era to feel rebellious. Now it's cool to like what your dad likes. In a way, it's become exactly what it wanted to be. Shoegaze was very quickly pushed into the spotlight, but in reality, all it really needed was people who care about it and didn't see it as a fad. And due to the internet, they found what they were looking for. The main appeal, for me, is how dreamy and psychedelic it feels. I often stay up at night, lie on my bed, sink in and let the music take me. So many of my best moments listening to music have come listening to shoegaze. Don't get me wrong, I love minimalist stuff, but sometimes you just need something that can blow you away. I know I'll always get that here, and that's why I listen. I want to really sell you on how good shoegaze is, so I'm going to give you 5 albums to get into the genre with. If you're watching this video and I haven't convinced you yet, these albums should give you a taste of how good it really is. Almost every single time people talk about shoegaze, they bring up Slowdive. This band are the go-to example of perfecting the genre. Forming in 1989 after being inspired by the likes of My Bloody Valentine, they came at the absolute worst time they could. Right at the point bands like Nirvana were becoming popular, Slowdive were making some of the best music of the century. After an amazing debut that wasn't well received, Slowdive released Souvlaki, a 10-track album with a runtime of 40 minutes. The record doesn't have a single bad track on it. It's so surrounding, almost creating a barrier that protects you from whatever's going on around you. The album, unfortunately, still received critics saying that Slowdive are outdated, irrelevant and old. But now, this album sounds as fresh as ever. Experiencing the album at a loud volume for the first time will still be one of the most mind-blowing experiences I'll ever have. And listening to it loud is kind of the only way you can do it justice, because you're really not doing it justice sticking it on in the background. This album really doesn't deserve a background listen. Scotland-based band the Cocteau Twins are one of the most founding fathers of shoegaze, so it wouldn't feel right not sticking them on the list. The three-piece consisting of piano, guitar, and one of the best vocalists alive today, Elizabeth Fraser, Heaven or Las Vegas pretty much invented the genre, inspiring bands like Slowdive, Dive, Lush, and My Bloody Valentine. And for a very raw early form of shoegaze, it's surprising that the Cocteau Twins were, and still are, some of the best at it. Twangy riffs and vocals doused in effects to give them an almost heavenly sound. The album stands on its own as not only a pioneer, but as a damn good album to back it. Most of the stuff that was used on this album also paved the way for many names to come, such as the chorus effect, heard on the guitar on Cherry Coloured Funk. And the flanger on Pitch the Baby. Effects used in a whole new way here that are still being used the same in these modern times. Whether you like Cocteau Twins or not, you cannot ignore the impact they had on music to come. I can't believe I'm gonna do this, but yes, I'm putting two of one artist on a list of albums to get you into shoegaze. But it's really night and day going from Souvlaki to their reunion album 20 years in the future. The self-title shows off a band who you can tell have matured so much over the course of their career. Gone are the moments of albums when you can see their teenage mind shining through. The lyrics and sounds are fully matured and completed in a way. Their voices are fully developed and the instrumentation is a lot more diverse. Going from Souvlaki straight to this album is quite beautiful really. They've made it, and they're all grown up. But less about the sappy stuff, and more about the record. I put this one on the list with the other one because of how easy it is to enjoy, which is often something you don't find with a lot of the genre. It makes for a calming listen while still maintaining that explosive energy that shoegaze is known for. It's so listenable in fact that some of the songs even made it quite big. The song Star Roving even made it onto FIFA 18. But the whole album has a mood. Driving home at night after being somewhere for the day. This album is what that feels like. This is such a late at night album. Such a peaceful, nightlife type album couldn't not get a spot on this list. This is the first example of real, modern, finalised shoegaze on this list. Dive are a fairly recent band who have been making a name for themselves online in the shoegaze community. Bands like the Cocteau Twins and My Bloody Valentine experimented so that Dive could run. And run they have. Ocean is a perfect example of shoegaze and dream pop done right. The lead singer and guitarist Zachary was recovering from a serious drug addiction when this album was in development. And the lyrics and sounds reflect how he was feeling at the time. As you can imagine, a dreamy psychedelic album about being high off your mind and feeling like you're out of your body is a recipe for an amazing album and experience to listen to. The amount of new sounds and inspirational riffs they managed to cram into their first album is insane for a group of young adults. And to have such a mature look on their past and their present is so important for a group like this. They have every right to be as popular as they are, and this album is very inspiring for a lot of people who might not have everything figured out just yet. And that's why I think this album is so important. In the end, shoegaze isn't like punk, or grunge, or rock. Because it's not just teenagers that don't have everything figured out yet. Shoegaze is for everyone, old or young, to feel like they're somewhere else for a bit, to let them figure out stuff on their own. Then the sun hits, and everything's okay for a while.